welcome everyone to Women in Neuroscience UK's very first scientific get-together of 2023. Minds Matter, Rethinking Mental Health in Academia. My name is Sirjan and I'm one of the virtual events officers here at Women in Neuroscience UK. I also currently work as a postgraduate researcher at the University of Vienna. And for this event today, I'm extremely happy and overjoyed to be sharing and co-hosting it with Madina, who is also one of the events officers and studies neuroscience at Queen Mary University. And for today's event, we are very excited to have Dr. Jelena Brasanac and Dr. Julia Rummel, who are going to be sharing their scientific journeys and also their progress as a female academic. We also would like to welcome you all wherever you're joining us from. The responses have been really nice, and we're very happy to welcome you. Even people from outside the UK have signed up, and it's really nice to see that we have an international audience, which seems to grow. So what is WIN UK? Women in Neuroscience UK is the very first network for women in neuroscience created by women in neuroscience to promote gender equity in neuroscience and to also promote career opportunities. And in general, to just build a very holistic network for women in neuroscience to advance with their careers. And we're very happy to be let you be a part of the network too now. So now I'm just going to briefly walk you through today's agenda, which is we are going to start with the first talk by Jelena, who's also the co-founder of Dragonfly Mental Health. And after this, the audience will have an opportunity to ask some questions. Her talk will be followed by a quick break. And then we have a second talk by Dr. Julia Rummel, who's the co-founder of INNOKI. And then again, you will have a 5-minute question answer session. And we will then wrap the session up with a coffee talk or a networking session where all the participants will get a chance to talk to the speakers, but also to have a very informal conversation with other women in the network. So why did we choose to discuss mental health in academia is because over the past few years, especially with the pandemic, 15% of undergraduate students and approximately 13% of graduate students have reported to suffer from anxiety or depression, and this has become a major issue over the past few years. And also the research culture seems to be supporting quantity over quality, which makes it even more difficult for early career researchers to progress. Students also face concern about job security, which prevents them to pursue research and to enjoy research. And therefore, it was really important to bring this issue up and to raise awareness and to have good conversations regarding mental health and to sort of highlight this issue even more. And for today, we are extremely excited to have two renowned speakers. So first one, we have Dr. Brasanac, who's going to be talking about researching and cultivating mental health in academia. And then we will be followed by Dr. Rummel's talk, and she will be talking about her transition from academia to a consultancy business and to also how to foster psychological safety at the workplace.
I'm now delighted to introduce Dr. Julia Rummel, who is a certified systemic ECA wingwave coach and neuroscientist, and also the co-founder of INNOKI, a business consultancy based in Berlin. I won't say too much because I'm also really excited to hear everything Dr. Rummel has to say. So I'm now going to pass the floor over to Dr. Rummel and she can share her screen.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very honored and happy to be invited here to talk to you about my path that kind of led me into neuroscience and then also led me out of science, out of academia into entrepreneurship, so having an own business. And I was thinking like what would be my goal to reach by talking to you today. And yeah, I think it's twofold. And that is that I guess you are here in this network event, or not network event, but inspiration event maybe, to get some inspiration about what to do with your career, what might be your next career step. And I want to inspire you to think about a career maybe as an entrepreneur yourself. And this is why I'm happy to share my path with you. And I also want to invite you to think about really taking the step out of academia if academia doesn't feel completely right to you. I actually coach a lot of PhD students and postdoc students, and some of them really feel uncomfortable with the idea of having invested so much time, and the society who invested so much money also in their education, to then say, no, I'm gonna take a step outside of academia. But again, I think it's your life, so do with it what you want. And if academia doesn't feel right for you, then as it did to me, then yeah, maybe you want to also take a similar step. So these would be my 2 goals for today. And with this, I want to briefly introduce myself before I introduce myself maybe even further with looking in the past. So this is kind of the slide that I often also show to my clients when I start a workshop, when I want to introduce myself. And you can see here kind of a list of my educational background. So I am a neuroscientist by training. I also did my master's and my PhD in medical neurosciences here in Berlin at the Charité. But then I'm also a coach, a systemic and a wing wave coach. If these terms don't make sense to you, that doesn't matter. It just means that I work as a coach, so I'm supporting people and teams dealing with their challenges and problems, whatever that is. And I'm also a design thinker. Maybe this term also doesn't make sense to you. I will get back to that later on. But this is also something that I learned and studied, and it was really a turning point in my career. This is why I want to go back to this later on. So, but what am I actually doing now? Why am I talking to you? So, as you've heard before, I am a co-founder. So I founded an innovation consultancy or business consultancy, which is located here in Berlin. It is called INNOKI. And I'm also a mother of 2 kids. And I think, why do I stress this here? It's because I feel like people still think that for women, it's an either-or decision. So either you have a successful career or you decide to become a mother. So this is why I want to show you, prove it that it doesn't need to be like this. If you have like maybe a good organization, a good partner, then both is possible. So yeah, this is why I want to stress this, especially here with so many women talking. But it should also be focused when men would be here. So maybe some words about INNOKI. What are we doing? So we are consulting teams and companies and all sorts of organizations whenever they want to develop something new, meaning when they want to develop a new product or a new service, or maybe also a new internal process or a new communication culture. And here we do not focus our consultancy on the technological aspects. And also we don't focus at all on the financial aspect, but our consultancy only focuses on this human side of it. So we focus on what do the people that are affected by the change, what do they actually need? What do they wish for? What are the problems with the status quo? And this is already kind of a description of design thinking. This is a human-centered innovation approach, and we do some consulting in this regard. And we also offer method trainings. So for teams and organizations who want to learn more about design thinking, we provide this. And within the past few years, we realized that very often it's more, there are different problems behind maybe having a new product or service that we want to tackle. And this is why now we became also coaches for individuals and teams. So I actually also work a lot with PhD students or also with research group and help them to find solutions on how to solve their problems with each other or their personal struggles. So I think what Dragonfly offers there is very, very helpful and important, because I observe it as well, that there's so much anxiety happening there. Yeah, but we also work with huge companies. And yeah, this is an INNOKI in a nutshell. And the people you can see on the pictures are my co-founders. But how did I get there? As I said, I did my PhD or my master's in medical neuroscience. So there's no consistency and no straight line in my path. I think the only thing that is consistent is that very often I was kind of standing in a section where I could decide to go either there or there or there. And very often I was wondering, like, why not? Why not take that option? What is there to lose? And I think that's the only consistency maybe in my path. This is why I also called it like that. And I start with a very basic time, like back long time, and it was in 2005 or even before. It was 1 year before my high school graduation in Nuremberg in Bavaria. And back then, like 1 year before my high school finished, I still thought, yeah, maybe I want to do something with media. Yeah, and actually psychology is also somehow interesting. Yeah, I think I want to do something with the psychology of advertisement. So with this, I want to show you that I haven't been that child that as of the kindergarten, I knew that I want to become a researcher, but I had different directions in mind. And then only 1 year, the last year of my high school, we had neurobiology in class, and I was completely fascinated. Like immediately, it was like love at the first sight. And I thought, wow, okay, I want to learn more about this. I want to become a neuroscientist. So I can remember it perfectly fine. I went home, I had a very long hours discussion with my mother, and I decided to study neuroscience. There was only one place in Germany where this was able, and back then at least, and that was in Cologne. So I went to Cologne, I did my bachelor's there. And I also, during that bachelor's time, I went to Vancouver for some experiments. And I really liked always this translational research. So where I was able to do like proper wet neuroscience with doing surgery, being able to extract the brains, taking a look at them, but also often always with this clinical translational approach. And I was happy that I was also able to publish some of this stuff quite a few years later, but still that was a very good time. And as I was really fascinated by this translational approach, I then came across medical neuroscience at the Charité. And here again, I was like, yeah, why not go to Berlin? Why not study at the Charité medical neurosciences? And this is what I did then afterwards. And I was really happy again with my research. I was in the research group of Christine Winter in experimental psychiatry. And as I really liked her, it's this woman here, and I really liked, again, this the topic, she offered me an immediate PhD position the day after I graduated with my master's. And I, again, was like, yeah, why not? I mean, I really like working there, so why not do the PhD? I didn't really think about any other option anyway. So I did my PhD with her. I did look at the effect of deep brain stimulation in an animal model of treatment-resistant depression. So I, again, really liked the research, and I was quite okay. I was doing okay with the publication. And yeah, I realized that I love a lot of things. Like I really love to work completely or almost completely independently, that I was able to decide when I'm going to work on what and how. So this I really appreciated. And I also really loved that I was able to stay in Berlin. This was really important for me, and still is. And I really loved that I was working on a topic that is relevant. So many people suffer from depression, treatment-resistant depression, and it really felt good to me that I can contribute to improve maybe the knowledge and the treatment. And then, of course, there's things that I didn't like so much. And one is that what Sirjan also said in her introduction, this quantity over quality. And this is really what is also hidden behind this sentence. I don't like the politics behind the publishing culture. I was really frustrated that it's only important to get these publications out, no matter of the quantity and whether the research is really okay to be published and kind of finished. So I was really frustrated with this. And then I also was like, yeah, what's the, like, how likely is it that I can become a PI? At least in Germany, the ratio is quite frustrating. And also, like, even if you get an offer, in what city would this be? And I want to stay in Berlin. So I was like, yeah, am I really passionate enough to do all this? I don't know. So I was really lost and I was frustrated and unsure. So I was looking around, and then all of a sudden I came across design thinking. Actually, this was in a workshop for students to figure out what to do after the PhD. So there was one woman who did design thinking, and I didn't understand what this was. And I just looked at the website, and something just really felt appealing to me. So I applied and I started to study it without knowing really what it was. There was just something in my gut feeling that was very, very intense, and it really pulled me to go there. So this is what I did then during the second part of my PhD. I had the allowance to go there for 2 days per week for 1 year in a city close to Berlin, or it's close to Berlin, this education. And for me, it was quite interesting for the first time to be able to see a world outside of academia and pharma industry, because these were kind of the two options that were always offered to us during the PhD and also during the master's. So you can either stay in academia or you go to pharma industry. You can decide. These are the two options. And then I realized, okay, there's even something else out there. But I think the most important experience was teamwork. And like, I never experienced valuable teamwork before, because science is so much like this elbow mentality. And here with design thinking, it's a team sport only. And for me, it was the very first time I had this experience, and I really, really loved it. And I didn't want to miss it anymore. So yeah, I started to think about how to continue work with design thinking. And then with other people I met at the school that you've seen on the picture, we just started to build up INNOKI without knowing what this will be. We just decided, like, let's do something together with design thinking. Let's see where it goes. So I was very busy, but something really just, again, with my gut feeling, it just dragged me to do this, to be part of it. And I still had to finish up my PhD. And as my contract ran out, I also had to do a part-time job at the Charité in order to pay my bills. And I also had my first child. So these years were quite intense. And I don't know how I handled it, but it was somehow worth it. And then when I finished my PhD in 2017, I had to decide, what will I do? I cannot do science just as a part, and INNOKI, like, I cannot do a postdoc as and then build up my company and have a child. So yeah, I had to take the decision, science or my own company. And I thought, like, why not give it a try? What is there to lose, really? So I did decide for INNOKI, obviously. and I said goodbye to research for good in 2017. And there are so many things that are really, really great about this decision, and why I never regretted it. So as I said, I really love this teamwork and the shared responsibility that we have with our company. I love that I can still work independently, so we don't have a boss, we are our own bosses. I love that I can be creative, I can have my own ideas and I can realize them within my company. I can stay in Berlin. This is just very, very important for me to be able to do this. And I can work with humans on something that matters. Now, I guess less than working on the depression research, but at least to something that really matters with the clients and the customers that we have. And actually, I can work part-time, flexible hours, and I earn much more money than I would ever do in science. So looking at this, I'm very, very happy that by accident, by being lost, I discovered design thinking, and I just happened to build an own company. But I think it doesn't need to be an accident, as it was in my case. I think you can also just plan on doing this. And I think by going out, reaching out, network, get inspired, as you do by participating here already, this is the way to go. And also maybe to have this why not mentality in mind. What is there really to lose? You are highly educated. There's, I guess, not such a big risk. And I want to encourage you to listen to your gut feeling. I don't know why I studied design thinking. I don't know why in those busy times I also built up INNOKI. It was just in my gut feeling. And I never thought beforehand of being self-employed, because I don't have a background in finance. I don't have a background in economics, and you don't need to have that. You can team up, and you should team up with people who can compensate that. So you don't need to have all these skills by yourself. And maybe the other thing is don't stop with your PhD. For me, the education in design thinking and my systemic coaching training were so important, as important, I guess, as the PhD, to bring me where I'm here now. And this is what I wanted to share with you. If you, I guess now there's the Q&A session, so feel free to ask me further any questions, or that is it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rummel. Excuse me, I've also got a bit of a cough.
No worries.
But this really opens up like a totally new perspective on what you can do with a neuroscience degree or with a science degree in general. I think a lot of us feel quite pressured to stay in academia. Once we've started, it almost feels like, okay, this is something that has to be like my vocation. This has to be my career in general. And obviously, I'm so sorry. And of course, that's not the case, as you've just like shown us. And I think it also shows how important prioritizing your mental health is when like kind of deciding your entire life. Like, it's not always I've got to stick to one path, or I've got to do this just because I feel like it. Like, I feel this way even though my gut is against it. So thank you so much. And just shows how unique everyone's story is, whether like you've gone and done like a neuroscience degree or not. Like, everyone can, just venture out into the world and try so many new things. So I'd like to now basically open up the floor to any questions that anyone may have. Feel free to ask away, and the chat box is also open. I know some people are shy to like speak, so go ahead.
Dr. Rummel, your talk was awesome. I've never heard of design thinking before, but sounds really cool. Really interesting to hear more about it. So I just wondered, going from being a scientist to kind of running your own business, it'd be really interesting to hear a bit more about that, because I'd guess you didn't really have any business skills going into it. So obviously that's quite intimidating, but yeah, I'd be interested to hear more.
Yeah, I still don't have any economic skills, and that's what I also really want to share with you, is that you don't need to have that. Like I still really dislike, and I'm not able to read and understand legal contracts. This is just not in my, this is not meant for me, and I don't understand taxes. But luckily, like I have my, like we are now 3 partners, like leading this, our company, 3 women, and one of us, like one of the 3, she has an she studied economics, and so she is there for all this economical part. Whenever there's a contract with our clients, it's her to read it. But then I really love to build presentations, and I built our website, for example, or I matched with the designer. So I have some skills out of my interest that I can apply in our company. And then there are other skills that I should never do, and I will never do, and I don't have to do. And we have an employee, and she is doing all the financial parts. And she's covered, like she's dealing with all our invoices and taxes and so on, so and whatever. So you do not need to have that. And I think that is my most important mission. You have to team up with people, and they can cover whatever you don't cover. Yeah.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
Yeah.